The York School is an international baccalaureate school, which is what IB stands for. So I would love to speak more about answering the question with the perspective of IB. And I think that we have some other panelists who can maybe speak a little bit more to STEM or AP, which are also, and for those of you who don't know, STEM, of course, is science, technology, engineering, and math. So as I said, the York School is an IB continuum school, which means that we have all three of the frameworks of IB, the primary years program, the middle years program, and what's called the IB diploma program. And when we are looking at students and considering admissibility, there's a few factors that we take into consideration. The first being a student has to have a pretty strong academic record. Now, that doesn't mean, and I think this goes for many of these independent schools represented up here today. It doesn't mean you have to have A+ across the board by any means, but most of our applicants have sort of A's and B's in most of their key classes in school, and they sort of have a bit of that track record, and that's important for IB because it is an academically rigorous program and gets even more so as you get into the higher grades. The other thing that we really do look at, because, and I'll get to this in a second about IB, but we're looking for students who are really well-rounded, students who demonstrate that they will engage in the life of their school at the York School in any way in which they want to contribute. And also maybe a demonstration that they've engaged in their life outside of school before applying to the York School as well. And that could be something as simple as sports they might play outside of school, arts programs, music that they engage in, really interesting hobbies and other activities that they do. But that piece is also really important to us. And then I guess from the perspective of an IB school, another thing that we're looking for is part of what an IB school is trying to do is develop students to be inquirers, to be knowledgeable, to be thinkers, risk takers, etc. These are all what are called attributes of the IB learner profile. And so we are hoping that a student who is applying to our school would demonstrate at least a handful of these attributes and aspire to strengthen in the others. Just very quickly, the International Baccalaureate, it's a world-leading curricular framework, and it actually is based on best practices from around the world. It's not actually rooted in any one educational framework. It emphasizes inquiry, and this is a really important component. You see that a lot more in the junior school grades. And the other thing is it encourages students to become active and compassionate lifelong learners. And finally, what an IB education is trying to accomplish is it's trying to inspire students to become risk takers, risk takers who are actually open-minded. That's a really important piece as well. And also students who are principled. And finally, students who are also reflective. That's another really big piece of IB. And again, it's kind of getting to the second part of the question about how does this create success for students outside of school. An IB education is truly a passport to post-secondary success. And again, I'm speaking from the perspective of IB. I know advanced placement and STEM programs also have tremendous benefits, but from the perspective of IB, one of the things that we find really interesting is there's a study that ACS International Schools puts out every year. And what they do is they survey university admission officers about different education programs and exam systems. And one of the things they found is when they compare some of the different paths to post-secondary, A-levels, Scottish Highers, advanced placement, international baccalaureate diploma, what they found is in the case where one is considered better than any other, and in some cases they're actually considered fairly equal, but in cases where one is considered better than the other, the perspective among university admission officers is that the IB diploma is considered one of the best preparations for university. So that's something that a student who engages in an IB experience is going to get some of the following benefits. They learn how to manage their time. They can think critically and independently. The school and the program really supports that. They develop civic mindedness, which is, again, a very important component of IB. There's a piece of it called CAS, which, again, come talk to me later about the details, but it enriches sort of beyond the classroom learning and this idea of giving back to your community. And then finally, Research has shown that students who have an IB education are more likely to enroll in top-tier universities. They're more likely to achieve honors degrees. They also continue on to postgraduate studies, and they tend to end up in higher-paying jobs on the back end. And so, in a sense, it is worth that investment in an IB education. And again, I'll let my colleagues speak to the wonderful value and benefits of advanced placement in STEM. Thank you.